Greetings and welcome to another impressions video here at Words About Games, and today we're going to be looking at Drake Hollow. Drake Hollow is a third-person action-adventure game which is a mixture of several different genres. You play as the newly appointed saviour of the Drakes, creatures who live in the Hollow, a dying land besieged by the Blight. After being whisked away from your mundane life to this magical land by a talking raven, you need to look after the Drakes, nurture them, feed them, keep them entertained, build them a home, and fight back against the Blight and the evil Termina that threaten to destroy these adorable creatures and the place they call home. There's a ton of different things going on in Drake Hollow, which is in turn an exploration game, a resource management game, a colony builder, a survival game, an action game, and any number of other genres that make labelling it an exercise in futility. It's a hodgepodge of ideas, all blended together in a magical adventure of good versus evil as you protect the adorable little drakes you find as you travel. And to its credit, despite pulling mechanics and systems from a wide variety of sources, Drake Hollow never feels overwhelming or unfocused. While it resembles something of a kit bash, the Molasses Flood have put it all together into a pretty compelling final product. Your main drive in Drake Hollow is protecting the drakes. You're guided to a small island by a talking raven who explains that the world you're in and how it works, before being sent forth to awaken and retrieve the drakes that are scattered throughout the world. So you gather materials from chopping trees, smashing rocks, exploring buildings, hitting trash cans or abandoned cars, and more, turning the discarded junk of the world into food, water, entertainment, and furniture. It's a satisfying gameplay loop. You venture out into the world, scavenging resources and fighting monsters, bringing home the materials you need to expand your camp. You start with the basics, beds, water wells, places to grow food, plushies, and gradually level up your camp and unlock bigger and better upgrades, like electricity, defences, better food and water production, pinball machines. You get a real sense of progress and accomplishment as you turn your island into a home. The initial curve is probably a bit too steep though. When you're first thrust into the world, the resource management can get intense. Your drakes need three things to survive: food, water, and entertainment, and in the opening hours it can feel like you're constantly standing on the precipice of disaster. Food and water continuously run so dangerously low that you have to keep rushing back to base with whatever juice boxes or mushrooms you've managed to find, and you have to do so often. If you make it over the initial curve, gain a couple of camp levels, and unlock the ability to be a little more self-sufficient, the challenge eases off a bit. It's still there, but it feels a lot more manageable. It also lets you spend more time exploring, as the drakes are pretty good at keeping things running for a while on their own. It's the game's exploration that makes the loop feel compelling. Each biome in Drake Hollow is a series of islands that house a variety of resources for you to collect and monsters for you to fight. Checking the map and hovering over an island will let you know what resources are available there, allowing you to prioritise your needs fairly easily, as well as doing a good job of letting you know when you can move on to the next island. Clearing an island of goodies, and then either moving on or heading home with your spoils, is a little addictive. Especially when you start using waypoints to connect the islands together. Ostensibly, these are used to make connections between your camp and supply trucks full of resources that can slowly be automatically sent back to your base. But you can also grind on the lines between them, so they make an excellent and quick mode of transportation around each biome. Alongside ether wards, which let you cross between islands without dying, waypoints are the most useful of the vast amount of personal items you can craft, which also includes things like healing salves, proximity bombs, ammunition for weapons, and more. What's not addictive is clearing islands of blight. Each island you visit is usually covered in an outbreak of blight, large, angry-looking masses of black tentacles that clump together and need to be destroyed. There can be upwards of 30 clumps you need to eradicate, and each one will take a fair few whacks with whatever weapon you have at hand to destroy. It's tedious, running around an island searching for these masses only to stand still and beat them up before moving on to the next one. Worse, the more blight there is on an island, the blurrier your vision gets as you try to explore, so if you land on an island with 35 blight masses that need to be destroyed, simply walking around and exploring becomes a visual nightmare that, at one point, got so bad it gave me a headache. Combat is a bit better, provided you can clearly see what you're doing. You fight monsters using everyday items found around the world: pool cues, 8-ball gear shifts, tennis rackets, foam hands and such. There are a lot of different kinds of weapons you can pick up, but there's really only two distinct types: small and quick, or large and heavy. Ranged weapons, similarly, are mostly scavenged items like nail guns, though you do get the obligatory bow and arrow and a blunderbuss. It's a bit floaty and imprecise, but it's never massively challenging at any point, so it never feels particularly aggravating when you constantly swing a weapon in the wrong direction. The hit detection for ranged weapons is pretty inconsistent, however, which can be really annoying given the scarcity of ammunition for your weapons. It can be easy to get overwhelmed when fighting large groups, mostly due to how agile your enemies are, and the Fang in particular can be an absolute pain due to how fast it moves away from you before blasting you or dropping mines everywhere. Death is cheap, however, and not really a big deal. If you happen to die in combat, you're given the option to either respawn back at camp and take a sizable hit on your weapon durability, or spirit walk back to your body and carry it to safety before respawning for no penalty. Kind of like World of Warcraft, of all things. Which makes a mockery of raids and boss fights, both of which take place at your camp, meaning if you happen to die, it'll take you all of a few seconds to respawn and be back in the fight. Drake Hollow is a fun mishmash of ideas and game genres that's been put together into a fairly compelling package by the Molasses Flood. Not everything it does is successful. Clearing Blight is tedious, combat feels a little underwhelming, and the opening resource management crunch can feel punishing and interrupt the flow of exploration a lot. But there's also a lot to recommend about the game too. Building up your camp and exploring the world is rewarding. Grinding the lines between waypoints is a neat way to get around and connect the disparate islands of a biome, and looking after the adorable drakes is fun. If you've got Game Pass and what I've described sounds intriguing, I'd recommend giving Drake Hollow a shot. Thanks very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, consider sticking around here at Words About Games. Our content includes review impressions of games big and small, a weekly podcast dedicated to discussing the happenings in and around the games industry, weekly opinion videos, reactions, debate-driven top 5 and top 10 lists, a regular Hall of Fame series where we discuss our favourite games, and indie game spotlights. We also stream every Friday and Saturday at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames. Most importantly, have a brilliant day.